From announcing his comeback fight against someone like Michael Chandler to looking rusty in the ring, McGregor's return to the UFC will not be easy, to say the least. But he is returning all right, and he's making sure everyone knows it. The world finally has new details about McGregor's return to the UFC, and they now know that he'll be squaring up against Michael Chandler. Of course, this means that the Notorious has taken to his favorite platform, Twitter, and once again started to show off just what he was capable of. But he's also tweeted and deleted. You know, the usual for the Irishman. There was one tweet where he claimed he would be able to smack anyone around, and many of his fans don't doubt that. Come on, McGregor, you've been out of action since 2021. But maybe he recognizes that because he also tweeted about his insane training regime to prepare for his fight against Chandler. The rivals have only just wrapped up filming for The Ultimate Fighter Season 31, and they're expected to meet towards the end of the year. No fixed date has been set just yet, but to compete in the welterweight category, McGregor has a lot of work ahead of him. He explained that he's been running 10K every other day and spars for a couple of rounds, which makes him good enough to beat up anyone. I kinda missed how cocky McGregor could get. Plus, it's nice to see his training is going well too, because it's about to get much more intense from what I can tell. If you'll recall, the fighter has often been criticized for his lack of cardiovascular endurance. In fact, this critique has followed him for the majority of his career, and he's decided to fix that by joining Big Bear Training Camp in California. You see, the training facility is 7,000 feet above sea level. The air is thinner up there, so you're kind of forced to improve your lungs and their capacity. So when McGregor revealed that he had new plans to improve himself at Big Bear, fans were ecstatic. He's on track to making what could be a phenomenal return to UFC, and they may have his longtime coach, John Kavanagh, to thank. Even the Irishman spoke up about his adoration for Cav, but not before he dissed other coaches in the process. Classic McGregor. In a now-deleted tweet, he mocked Faraz Zahabi, then moved on to Trevor Whitman, after which he called Javier Mendez and Mike Brown, and finally ended with Greg Jackson. Once he'd framed that part of the tweet, he moved on to praising Kavanagh, and claimed that in the future, people will know that he was the only worthy coach out there. Of course, his loyalty makes sense. He did win world titles under his coach's guidance, but let's keep in mind that he hasn't won a match since 2020. So we'll just have to wait and see if any of these words are true. And while a date has yet to be set, Conor's comeback is imminent. According to Dana White, it might take place at Madison Square Garden in New York, which is a big deal for the Irishman and his fans. As I mentioned earlier, the man has been on break since July 2021, which is when Dustin Poirier kicked him enough to break his leg. But it looks like the injury is a thing of the past, because White is busy planning out the fight. While MSG is a great place for such a major fight, they could also check out other places like the Cowboys Stadium and even Vegas. While MSG is an enticing option, it can hold 21,000 people only, but the Cowboys AT&T Stadium can hold 100,000. In short, White and his organizers are considering all possibilities. No matter what the location, McGregor is excited to come back. In fact, he hopes to not only beat Chandler, but also get a shot at the welterweight title later. But is it really possible? McGregor wants to add a third global title to his collection of UFC belts. There's no doubt about it. He's expressed the desire to do so already, so it looks like he's working to achieve that goal. And if he did manage to win a third belt, he would become the first competitor to ever do so. In fact, at one point, he had even made up his mind to compete in the middleweight category. Pictures of a much larger McGregor had gone viral because he looked unrecognizable because of how big he'd gotten, but that seemed to have been for nothing. While he may have once said that he would fight Chandler at 185, that was nothing more than a joke. The fight will take place at 170, and he wants a shot at the title. But let's look at McGregor's track record. The famous former two-weight world champion has only triumphed once since his victory against Eddie Alvarez.
Alvarez getting loose, getting better here in this round, though.
Oh, man.
Until that.
Oh, he's done. He's done.
It is all over!
That was at UFC 205 at Madison Square Garden, over 7 years ago. 7! And let's not forget his 1-3 record since has been sullied by injuries. After his 42nd TKO victory against Donald Cerrone, he claimed that his past defeats had been the result of being inactive. But his losses in major matches have become a pattern. He lost to Khabib, then lost to Poirier. So it remains to be seen if he can be brought back into fighting shape. Despite this unfortunate record, he has maintained his reputation. Plus, he's currently regarded as one of MMA's top fighters. The fight with Chandler will prove once and for all if McGregor's just talk, because at the moment, it kinda seems like he is. Still, I'll give him credit. It's no easy feat making a comeback after one breaks their leg, and yet he's trained hard and is on track to make a comeback. That's why McGregor's return is so exciting. He's had a bumpy ride over the past few years. Sure, Poirier versus McGregor was one of the most memorable fights in recent UFC history, and it also raised the Americans to superstardom. McGregor's just been waiting for his time to shine, and fans are waiting right with him, hoping they'll see a glimpse of their old champ, but that doesn't seem to be the case. In fact, fans are actually worried about him. One fan felt that McGregor had become the very thing he used to hate, thin and as stiff as a board. Another pointed out that he should go back to his early days when he fought on his toes. More of McGregor's fans voiced similar concerns. Another observer felt that McGregor looked heavy-footed and static as he boxed with his partner. They added that this is the same tactic Notorious had used before. It hadn't worked out for him then, and it wasn't bound to help him out again. But no matter how the fight goes, one thing is for certain: the fight will get both fighters a whole lot of money. Chandler knows just how big a deal this fight is, so he thinks he can easily make up to $2 million from it. While he didn't want to blow his own horn, he's made a name for himself. He knows people want to see him, and if he's fighting McGregor, that's only better. Speaking of McGregor, he's on track to earn almost $20 million. He has earned over $100 million in his last 14 fights alone, and that outrageous number will only increase if things go well for him. And that's all I know about McGregor's intense training to beat Chandler.